Hello comic fans, here's Earl Grey, and I'm really curious how this video will turn out to be, because I have so much stuff to show you today, but actually so little to talk about, because there's an obvious quality to the works of Richard Sala, or a quality of obvious, if you know what I mean, because his stuff is just there and doesn't need any explanation. It's comic fun in its purest form, in my opinion. Like you can see here in a collection, Phantoms in the Attic, put out by Fantagraphics the last year. Unfortunately becoming some sort of testimony, because Richard Sala passed away in 2020. And it seems that he has left a lot of stuff uncollected, maybe even unpublished. These are covers from his comic book series Evil Eye. And it's splendid to have these reprints in oversized. Let's see if I can put some relation here so that you have an idea how much of an oversized edition this is here. Yeah, this is a highly recommended edition of artwork by Richard Sala. And I like his comics immensely, but his out of context images are fun as well, especially when they're in color. He has this very distinct use of bright colors and watercoloring, obviously. So I can go through each page here, which will be a theme of this video as well, because when I have one of his books here in my hands, it's hard to flip a page, and even more so to put this book down and to get the next one here. It's really each and every page here, you can rip it out of this book and frame it, put it onto your walls. Yeah, here we have a self-portrait of the man, Richard Sala. So, the reason actually, or the last drop to make this video is this fine tome here, Poison Flowers and Pandemonium, published very recently by Fantagraphics. Fantagraphics published most of the stuff that you can see here. And Poison Flowers and Pandemonium is, as the subtitle reads, a Richard Sala omnibus. And as Fantagraphics can't do wrong, and they certainly didn't do anything wrong with this book here, this is a very well made book, and I like how this this hardcover turned out to be designed, with this embossing here. And it fits the works here that are collected within this luscious tome. A cute Nosferatu, I guess, here. So, and in this book here, we have collected The Bloody Cardinal, Part 2, Monsters Illustrated, Cave Girls of the Lost World, and Fantomella. First things first, why not show you The Bloody Cardinal? There's this book here. This is The Bloody Cardinal, Part 1, if you will, published by Fantagraphics some years ago, about this bloodthirsty yet mysterious and appealing villain, in a strange way appealing guy. His actual name is Billy Beaker, and he has some kind of appeal not only to the females here in the story and the psychologists, and there's always no shortage of crazy scientists in Richard Sala stories, but to us readers as well. And we start with some kind of song as a homage to this mastermind of crime here. And no shortage of useless killing and stuff like that. And here you hear the actual story starts with some of these very frequent homages to the silent movies of the 20s. Let's think of the Golem or the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. It's usually all over the place in Richard Sala's comics. Like, so much stuff is used by him for his very unique and idiosyncratic vision of what comics can be. Just pure comics fun, as I said it. So here we have this lady going into a bookshop and buying a book of this creepy dude here. And the book that she gets here happens to be the Diary of the Bloody Cardinal. So, mysterious book, and she is observed, and a lot of pulpy tropes, of course, not to say cliches. You can almost make a list and cross all these tropes out. I'm pretty sure your list will be full with checks. So here, creepy doll, check. Sudden death of what you thought to be the main protagonist, check. Rats. And killings. Mysterious oriental dudes, policemen without a clue, and so on and so on. And the story here really is a good introduction into the world, the pulpy world of Richard Sala. But actually, you can pick up whichever book you want out of the stack here, and you will be rewarded with optical honey, eye candy, however you want to call it. So, but back to our new book here at hand. In this one here, the saga of the Cardinal is continued, but there's absolutely no necessity to have read the Bloody Cardinal 1 before. You will get everything, and even the cast of characters is for the most part different from the first story. I mean, with the exception of Dr. Sun here, and of course our Bloody Cardinal. The way he tells the story has just this off-the-cuff, easy feeling that he makes up stuff just while he draws the stories, even though this is certainly not true, because you have some stuff that happens in the end and circles back to the beginning. So it's a good mixture of innovation and ornament and pulpy story structure. I mean, you don't have to expect that everything here makes total sense, but when you look at a panel like this one here, I mean, this panel alone would be enough for me to want to have this book and to read it. And you get a sense what a bloody bastard this Cardinal dude here is. So, yeah, we had I'm sure we had to have pirates, or even better, female pirates on our list of pulpy cliches that we have to check out, and so on. I mean, a big part of the appeal of Richard Sala's comics, and there's no need or reason to deny that, is the way he draws his women here, these cute and I have to admit, always the same with a different hairstyle, girl type, but it's just very attractive and cute and nice, and so I think if you don't like the way he portrays women and think of it as pretty stereotypical, which it is obviously, then these comics would have just maybe half of the appeal. Maybe you like monsters instead. So this is, of course, a big part as well of the Richard Sala imagination here. Here we have some little frame narration going on, again, of a lady going into a bookshop called Forbidden Books, and yeah, it's just an excuse to give us all these pin-ups here of the green ghost, the cat creature of Moonlight Alley. Like in Phantoms in the Attic, we have here lots of fantastic images that you just have to love. I mean, Jack Frost, Demon of Winter. This looks a bit like a Ferengi to me, but it's of course a werebat. Werebat of Lover's Lane. So maybe she was or is in love with the original dude that he is by day. And here again we have a nice, cute Nosferatu. As all these monsters are actually just fun. Richard Sala's comics are obviously not about being really horrified or to be chilled into the mark of your bones. It's just about human fantasy and imagination, and to make a bit fun of all the stuff that we are actually afraid of. So we can deal with it better. Wonderful, wonderful pages here, and a lot of the stuff more. And now we come to the next part in this wonderful omnibus here. Cave Girls of the Lost World. Yeah, this is just cheesecake galore, and we have a little excuse for all the cheesecake that will follow and that I will show you in a second, because it's suggested that this boy George, who always appears here and there, maybe as a stand-in for us readers, and so that we can imagine we are little boys and looking at all these cute ladies and monsters. So he finds a message in a bottle and shows this to his uncle, who is an inspector. And these texts say, "This is the unbelievable yet true saga of the cave girls of the Lost World." And then we flip the page and we have yeah, half-naked chicks and dinosaurs, and a pretty harebrained story about these girls having some kind of plane crash on this island, and now they have to survive here in these under these circumstances with all these creatures from prehistoric times, and this is, I guess, the only image that is reprinted in Phantoms in the Attic as well. Otherwise, I think the whole book is completely new material. Maybe I've overlooked some pages. This is possible for sure. But you really get new material. The whole book is filled with new material. I think this stuff, for instance, is available as some kind of Kindle book or so, and you may have seen this before, but it's, at least to my knowledge, not collected before on paper. So, wonderful pin-ups. I can't lie to you, but the story is, of course, I mean, here we have the frame narration going on, and a friend here of them two summarizes pretty well the plot so far pretty well. It's unbelievable, all right. It's the dumbest thing I've ever read. It's like it was written by a 13-year-old boy who wanted to fantasize about half-naked chicks. And I guess there's some truth to it, that our guy George here has just made it up here to give our Richard Sala some excuse to draw all the stuff that he wants to draw. And but he wants to go to that island as soon as possible, and I really can understand that. So yeah, and it goes on and on. I mean, who would not understand that someone likes to draw stuff like that? This is flesh-eating plants, another cliche and trope that happens to be pretty often included in the comics by Richard Sala. So, enough nakedness, I guess. Now to the last part here. Werebats. We have werebats here. Or blue bat people, however. So, and the last one here is a little nod to fantomas. And these kind of stories. But in typical Richard Sala fashion, it's obviously a woman that is involved here. Yeah, I guess you get the idea. It's a pretty interesting plot with sci-fi elements, and again, some scenes could have been extracted out of some silent movie from the 20s and stuff like that. I did like the intro here because it strikes a pretty different tone. When you are young, you imagine you are going to be the hero of your own movie. By the time you're middle-aged, you are content to be a supporting player, the sidekick, the best friend of the lead character, standing on the sidelines and merely watching and commenting on the actions of your friends and family. Then, when you are old, it's worse. You realize that what you've become is just one of the random villagers in a remote pub in a typical old horror movie. Superstitious, unlucky, suspicious, and doomed. And really, I can tell you there's some truth to it being 53. Some, not all of it, it's true. So, highly, highly recommended. Have I shown you the dust jacket here? It's really a treat, this book here. So, now quickly to the other stuff here. Maybe the first time around when I stumbled across the stuff by Richard Sala were these American reproductions of a magazine that was originally published in the UK. Yeah, I guess that's true. And here we have just a few pages of Richard Sala, black and white. Damn. here. Yeah, chapter out of the series 13 o'clock. And when you compare it with the stuff that I've just shown to you, you can see, even though his style is always and immediately recognizable, there's some variety to it, and he changed slightly over the years, and especially his black and white style is very different from the stuff that he colors afterwards. And here we have in Deadline issue, whatever, number 1? Okay, however, but it's chapter 4 of 13 o'clock. So, yep. When you have, talking about black and white stuff, and maybe one of the more minimalistic stories here is Peculiar and the Green Grove Vampires. Take that in. About this, let's see, about this girl here who is bitten by a vampire, like the bearded lady here. We find out. Here's the bearded lady, and she analyzes the case correctly and properly. Vampire. Ach, vampire. Ja, vampire. Vampire. Ja, vampire. And as you have recognized already, of course, Richard Sala uses always a very special kind of lettering, his very own lettering, very ornamental and a bit manneristic, but it fits the tone and the pulpy feel of his stories very well. So this story here is about his usual gang of cute ladies. This time they are needed as babysitters on a castle full of vampire kids. Creepy kids. So you can cross that out of your list if you haven't already before. Here's one of these creepy kids amongst her creepy dolls. And we have our George guy involved as well. Yeah, creepy enough, I guess. Not much bigger in format, but in complexity is this book here, In a Glass Grotesquely, Selected Picture Stories by Richard Sala, but it's for the most part a story about this dude here, super enigmatics, and he's really super mysterious. Again, shows Sala's love for these kind of super villains. We have our inspector guy, who you already are familiar with, and the friends of him have to solve the story around this super enigmatics guy, and there's some flashback scene drawn just in black and white around this guy, who's not so important, to be honest with you, because he's spoilers, killed off very shortly, as many characters in Sala's stories are. But yeah, super enigmatics, and this guy here of, I guess, they are evil corporate dudes, and this mysterious Rasputin-like guy, who does this in some seconds later. It's totally hilarious, but makes sense in this world of this Richard Sala story, including even these warm people who are de-evolved inbred folks from some closed-off village in somewhere in the mountains, so they don't want to share anything with the modern world and preferred to de-evolve into this kind of state. And they have a certain role in this hodgepodge of pulpy fun, and maybe one of my favorites. And you have to have watched some James Bond movie before, perhaps, because of course he put some James Bondish tropes into the story here as well, with this lair full of this army of cute girls here. Yeah. So this is really a nice, here, another look into the secret lair of the super enigmatic Sky, and our Guy George spies unrecognized between all the ladies there. So, and on the back we have some short black and white stuff, highly detailed, that you will enjoy more for the art. There's some kind of stories involved here, but they are not so important, even though enjoyable. So another one of these little books is the ghastly ones with miniatures about monsters, evildoers, and just like crazy people. And this is published by Manic D Press, so it's not Fantagraphics, and not by Fantagraphics as well, but by First Second is Cat Burglar Black. A pretty tight plot, I have to say, for Richard Sala's story. It's about a group of female thieves in the Spell Song Academy for girls, and they are used by these old people that I will show you in a second, led by this old woman, to steal stuff. And even though, yeah, a lot of pulp cliches and tropes and so on, but the story here is really pretty tight until the end, and makes sense in a way if you want to accept all these cliches as given. So I had lots of fun with it, even though you see really what happens when not Fantagraphics does stuff like this here. This is glossy paper and printed just as small that you still can read it, but it would have been really better if they had reprinted a bit bigger and on a different paper. But that's maybe just my opinion, because the colors pop indeed. I think it's better to have more muddy paper for his watercolor stuff here. Okay, continuing. Well, colored comics, Violencia and Other Deadly Amusements. Yeah, this is Fantagraphics as well. So here you can see maybe what I meant with that the stuff has to be big enough and printed on the right paper. Because I mean, when you see this art here in person, printed on the book, on the paper, it's really sublime. yeah, and we have a strange cult and cultists here to check off our list. So maybe a recommendation or tip is not to read too much Sala in one sitting, because maybe the repetitiveness will get to you a bit. I mean, I can really read for hours and hours this kind of stuff and enjoy it immensely, but it's maybe the better way just to read one Sala book in a week or in a month and enjoy it, and then the month afterwards read another book by him. And yeah, the more so that we, because we won't get more Sala. I don't know how many stuff there is in some drawer and unpublished, but it's finite, I think, for sure. So, more of these pinups. Some of these you will find them a bit bigger in Phantoms in the Attic. Some, not all of them. And so, Phantoms in the Attic is still highly recommended, even if you have Violencia. Another female character that is in more stories than just one is Peculiar. And this is a collection of stories that were firstly reprinted or published in this Evil Eyes comic book series. Very surreal and very goofy and funny, and even more surreal than some of his other stuff, but including a big mysterious opponent to our main lady here. I'm thinking, when you watch this video until now, I'm already preaching to the choir and I can keep silent. We are almost through. Yeah, we're almost through. Last book to go, at least of the stuff that I have. I mean, there's this book called Delphine out there. It's, or actually not out there because it's out of stock and nowhere to find for a decent price. But this is highly regarded as well, especially for the Love of Comics said something along the lines of this, that this is his best book. So it seems to be worthwhile hunting down, but not to pay hundreds or so of bucks for it. And my guess would be that Fantagraphics will republish a lot of Sala stuff in the next years anyway. They would be fools not to. So, and another highly well-constructed, fantastic story is Mad Night here, and this is one of the most complex stories that I've read by Richard Sala, and surprise, surprise, it has some male character as well in the center of the story that is not killed off after some pages, and it has pirates, it has monsters, it has evil scientists, and it has all the other stuff that I've mentioned before in a new blend, in a new mix, and together it makes up for very appealing yet harebrained and a story with, yeah, that will leave you chuckle and yeah, when you want to have good, clean, yet bloody comic fun, it's always a good recommendation to grab a comic by Richard Sala. So, thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.